Hi my darlings, I'm Sophie Darling and welcome back to the channel. Today we are reacting to episode 12 of Apothecary Diaries, and this is such a phenomenal show. It really has my whole heart. I actually think this is competing for my favorite show that I've watched since I've started my React channel. And I know that is bold words. I absolutely love Attack on Titan and I would die for Attack on Titan, but I think Apothecary Diaries is a very close second. This is everything that I love in a story: court dynamics, political intrigue, historical connections that tickles the little historical part of my brain that likes retaining knowledge of like medieval history, and the slow burn romance between Mao Mao and Jinshi, as well as like emphasizing the gender dynamics and looking at the ways in which women try to find freedom in any way that they can in a society that doesn't value them as equal, that they still strive for an opportunity to be recognized and to find independence. We also had it confirmed that essentially Aldua is Jinshi's mum. Mao Mao has kind of come to that conclusion and then gaslit herself, being like, nah, that's a fantastical narrative. But I think she's hit the nail on the head, and I have called it from episode 10 that Jinshi is Aldua's. Feng Ming has been executed. Li Shu is sad that she's lost Aldua. I hope they're reunited at some point. They really do deserve to be reunited at some point. But we also saw towards the end of episode 11 that family and relatives close to Feng Ming were to be brought to Jinshi, and Mao Mao's name is there. We're going to get into episode 12 because I need to get some answers to these mysteries. I really do.
フォンミンの処刑後、フォンミンの親族は財産を奪われ、重さの違いはあるが、すべて肉刑に処された。そして今、フォンミンの実家、およびその関係者の名簿がここにあ
So
る。
is Mao Mao a family member, or is she connected because her family is connected?
養蜂以外にも手広くやっていたようで、高級内に関係者の子女が80人ほどいます。
2000人中80人か。なかなかの的中率だな。薬屋がさらわれて売り飛ばされた先は、九段の関係者だったらしい。
This includes those who did business with them. There are about 80 children of those families here in the Rhea Palace. Right, okay. The family that the apothecary was kidnapped and sold off to was one such family. The family that the apothecary was kidnapped and sold off to was one such family. Oh, well, she became a servant, didn't she? So there's 80 children within the Rhea Palace. So probably what he means is that when she was kidnapped and she was sold to one of these particular families that's connected to Feng Ming and are being punished. I don't know why I did punished like that, but are being reprimanded and punished for their affiliation and investigated by Jinshi. I was really confused for a second, but yeah, she was kidnapped and she was sold, but we don't know who she was sold to. But if there's 80 children residing in the palace of these like noble families connected to the Feng Ming through business, then Mao Mao could have been sold to one of these families. So technically she would fall under that umbrella.
正しいかどうかは関係ない。俺が言えばその通りになる。
Which is what Mao Mao said to him.
区切りをつけたがるあれは、どんなに嫌な命令だろうと受け止めるだろう。このまま高級に留めておける。
He cares for her too
も
much.
しそれが彼女の意に反しているのであれば、
What if he sends her
好きでもない場所
home?
に引き止められたと気づいたとき、どのように受け取られよう。
Oh, he really doesn't
二人の間の亀裂を
want to lose her, but he doesn't want her to hate him.
ジンシ様、
Jinshi.
都合の良い駒ではなかったのですか。
No, he really cares for her. He's fooling himself.
急に辞めることになって困ってる子周りにいるよ。きっといろんなところと取引してたんだね。
And Mama's gonna be one of
なんだ
them.
か嫌な予感がする。李白の後、まだやり手ババアのところに乗客を送り込めていない。あんたの客だよ。確実に売り飛ばされる。
She's like, I need my job. She's gonna try and beg Jinshi to be like, please.
私の書類上の実家は 交易を行っている商家になっていた。
Because Jinshi doesn't want to like upset her by making her stay, but she
フン
wants
ミン
to
の実家が
stay.
養蜂農家なら何らかの接点があるかもしれない。
She's like, Jinshi, where are you when I need you? Help. Jinshi, please. He's gonna give the order because he thinks it's what she'll want, but she doesn't. Fuck's sake. The miscommunication.
人士様
Jinshi! Jinshi! I was gonna say, don't you dare ignore her. Please don't say it's too late.
息が荒いぞ。
Please say that you didn't give the order.
落ち着け。顔が真っ赤だぞ。
お話
I don't think he
あり
did
ます
give the order.
わかった。中で話そう。
I think maybe he wanted to speak
今
with
度
her
の大量
first.
解雇のことだろ。
はい。私はどうなるのでしょうか。つまり解雇というわけですね。玉葉様の次女になってから毒味もできるし医局にも出入りできる。
She's going to
それなりに
enjoy
今
her
の生活を気に
position.
入ってる。
She misses her dad, mind,
で
of
も
course,
私は
but...
ただの女官。解雇しないでくださいなんて言える立場では
Oh,
ない。
Mao Mao, he wants to know what you
媚びをし
want.
ないようにしなければ。私はただの女官です。言われるままに下働きでもまかないでも毒味役でも命じられればやります。
The music is
命
stunning.
じられれば。
No,
そうだ。命令されれば。
is
でき
he
るだけやり
gonna
遂げる。多
misunderstand?
少給金が下がっても文句は言わない。
Please don't
取り飛ば
misunderstand,
されるまでの
Jinshi.
時間が稼げればなんとかする。だからクビにしないでくれ。
わかった。
Oh
それ
no,
では
no, no.
金は弾もう。
交渉失敗。マオマオ解雇。
He misunderstood. He thought that that's what she wanted. Because she went on last time about how he would have to give the order and she would accept it because of the divide between servants and nobility.
礼儀正しく世話になった場所一軒一軒に挨拶を
Fuck!
回ったと
Jinshi!
後悔しても知らないわよ。
She doesn't have a
お気に入りの
choice.
おもちゃをなくしたこの人に代わりの珍しいおもちゃを与えるのは骨が折れる
Oh, Mao Mao.
あの娘をおもちゃと一緒にしてはいけないのかもしれない。
She's not. He
道具
really
として
likes
扱いたくな
her.
くて引き止めるのをやめたのか
Exactly.
全くもって手間のかかる厄介な主人
He's like, he's giving me a
代わりの
headache.
ためなら
Bring her back.
あの部下に尋ねてみるか
To bring her back. Jinshi. Oh no.
やっぱりそばかすはない方がいいわね。一晩の尺で一般の給金1年分の銀が消える6召喚の3姫をまとめて呼びつけるとは。金とはあるところにはあるも
What
の
if
で
this is like
一緒に行くって言っても私
Jinshi's
の役目は
plan?
姉ちゃんたちの引き立て役だよ。
well, not Jinshi's plan, but Jinshi's.
高級を出
I
ると
forgot
思ったより
his name,
金を
his
弾んでも
servant's
らえたから
plan.
とりあえず売り飛ばされずに済んでいる。かわいいじゃない。
She does look really pretty.
早くしな。あ？おいや、少し甘しになってる。すぐに客を取ってくれてもいいんだよ。
It's like, please no. I think this is not just any noble party, but perhaps Jinshi's gonna be there and he gets to see Mao Mao. It's the fact that all three of them were requested. A lot of money.
目のくらむような調度品ばかり。一つくらい土産にもらってもバレない。いいかんいかん。
She's like, let me steal. But she has to now because she doesn't have like any regular income. Is that
李
Jinshi
白様の紹介の宮廷交換だと聞いたが。
in the
思ったよ
corner?
り年若いな。こんな金持ちがいるならもっと早く
I saw
紹介してく
purple
れればいい
hair.
のに。李白様の縁なら借金も少しは減っただろうに。
We see the three princesses in action and why they're so of value. Isn't just about pleasing, but it's about having qualities that were seen as highly desired. So dancing, singing, playing an instrument. They're very beautiful. You had to be very skilled, very talented. It wasn't just about pleasure, but knowing how to interact with customers. A lot of courtesans were actually trained in the art of political conversation so that they could engage with their customers of nobility.
仕事とはいえずっと笑ってるのは疲れるな。
It is Shinji!
つまらないのか？失礼します。
一人にしてくれ。
お
一人になりたいんだ。
人士様。
なぜ避ける？
議女には触れないでください。
そもそもなんでそんな格好？
アルバイト中です。
技能でか？
そうです。
もしかしてお前。
このお方はどうにも人の低層を
He
疑う
really
性格らしい。
is. No, she hasn't had a
別に個人で
customer.
客を取ったりしてませんよ。
But she has to serve.
まだ。なら、俺が買ってやろうか。
ああ、冗談で。
He would!
いいかもしれませんね。もう一度高級に勤めるのも悪くないです。
But he would be
やめたんじゃなかったのか。
Jinshi's.
そんなこといつ言いました？続けたいと打診したのに解雇したのはそ
He
ちらでしょ。
misunderstood. But she didn't feel it was her position to demand anything of him because he's higher than she is and he's also a man. And he didn't want to make her a tool or heighten her distrust in him or make her hate him. So he gave her what he thought she wanted. That's
言葉
so
が足りないって言わ
cute.
れないか？
よく言われます。
だからなんで逃げる？
規則ですから。
得るもんじゃないだろう。
気力が減ります。
片手だ
It's
け。
ending my spirit.
そういえばこの男粘着質だったな。
She's gonna let him. She's gonna let him. He's gonna press it.
こいつ。
She's blushing. Oh my god.
まおまおったら見てられないな。
姉ちゃん。
Oh, Gaoshan.
もう何が何やら困ったもので、その後のこと
He
はよく
organized
覚
all
えてい
of
ない。
this so that Jinshi would be happy.
関係？もうやるじゃないの。
ただ、とにかく姉ちゃんたちの追求がしつこかったのはよく覚えている。
I love her relationship with her big sisters.
あれは去年の冬か。さらわれたのも驚きだが、よりによって売られた先が高級とは。しかも出世して次女にまでなって。
How time flies.
年季が終わるまでおとなしくしてようと思ってたのに。高級か。
We very rarely see her with her hair down, and she looks so good with her hair down.
元気かな、みんな。
ゆっくりしてきな。たまにしか入れないんだ。
I like the old woman. She does seem to genuinely really care for the girls. Yes, they are an investment in terms of they make her money, but
戻るのかい？高級
of course she is.
わかんない。
You are.
でも、高級も花町も大して変わらないのかも。
うんうん。
眠れないのか？
少し風に当たってくる。
気をつけるんだよ。
But if she went back to the rear palace, at least she'd be able to go and see her dad, whereas before she wasn't able to. She's been freed from her wages having to be given to her kidnappers because they are family. But now she can go back of her own free will and still see her dad. She couldn't see her dad before, but she'd be able to go and visit him more, right?
花町も大して変わらない。花園であり、鳥かごだ。ざわつく記憶、雪のように、いつの間にか抱えて
That slap really took me off guard, but it was a phenomenal episode. So I guess this is kind of like a midway point through series 1 because it's going back over everything that we've seen so far. So I guess this could be seen as like the halfway mark between the beginning of the series and now. I really like the ponytail look on Mao Mao. The show really is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
どうなるんだろうこれから
I was gonna say it's so cold outside.
数日後、都の花町に美しい鬼人が現れる。やり手ババアも目がくらむキンスと、それとなぜか。お？え？虫から生えた奇妙な草を持ったその
Is it like
男は
cordyceps? It's a fungi.
一人の娘を所望した。
So yeah, this looks like it's the halfway mark. So he's bought Mao Mao out, so Mao Mao is going to go and essentially serve Jinchi, most likely in the Rear Palace because she becomes his authority. I just love the fact that Jinchi couldn't find anyone to replace Mao Mao because there is no one like Mao Mao. He's so used to everyone fawning over him and for his appearance, and she's the first person to treat him like a normal person, like a human being with thoughts and feelings. She doesn't see the handsome looks. She recognizes that he's handsome, but she doesn't only see him for that. She is actually someone that he can be himself with. She says he's acting more childish than normal, but I think it's because he feels comfortable to do so around Mao Mao because others would maybe judge him for it because they know of his status, or he can't let people in because they might take advantage of him. He has to be on his guard. But with Mao Mao, he can be himself. He can be free to show these feelings that others would exploit because he knows that Mama wouldn't do that. And that freaking miscommunication, he didn't want her to hate him by commanding her to essentially stay, by hiding the fact that her family were connected to Feng Ming through doing business. And she didn't want to beg because she is a servant and he is above her, and it would be unbecoming to demand anything of him. And she is more than aware of those dynamics. And Jinchi's like, I need you to tell me, because if you command this of me, I will do as you say. And he took that as a sign of like their previous conversation where she's essentially saying to him, like, my life as a servant is dictated by the whims of those above me. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And her saying, I'll abide any order you give me is essentially going back to that conversation of her basically saying how fickle her life is as a servant, and that maybe one day he might have to be the one to have her executed, whether she wants it or not. And that was essentially what she's saying. I won't have a choice in it because I have no power. I have no authority. And he was giving her power and authority in that moment to command him because he sees her as an equal. He admires and respects her. But she is so bound by the political tension and awareness of it that she doesn't recognize that that's what Jinshi is doing. So she doesn't see herself as equal because obviously she sees herself as a serving woman. Everything she has experienced has been at the whims of those above her. She has been subjected to the control of others. So of course she's not going to demand anything of him because she's aware of their unequal position. And Jinshi doesn't see it that way because he genuinely values her, but of course, they are in a power imbalance situation. So that miscommunication has led to him not realizing that she actually wants to stay. And he has just gone, yeah, you go home because I don't want to force you to stay somewhere that you hate and have you hate me and have that distance between us grow even further. Whereas Jinshi just didn't understand that she was too aware of the dynamics to beg anything from him because it would disgrace herself, but also would be acting above her position. She would be stepping a foot out of place, and she doesn't want to incur the risk of being punished or executed for not behaving accordingly. But oh, I'm just so glad that they reunited and he kissed his finger because he couldn't kiss her, and and she was blushing, so it was actually the first time we've really seen her blush around him. So I think even she was kind of taken off guard, and Xiao Shan is Jinshi's servant who's known him since he was little, because he's basically saying that you never really could replace his favorite toy, but they could usually find a way to distract him, but not when it comes to Mao Mao, because Mao Mao's not a toy. She's not a pawn. She's not something for Jinshi to just use and discard when he's done. It may have started that way, but he has grown to really care for her in a way that he's never cared for anyone else. And Gao Shan's recognition of that in order to arrange for Mao Mao to be at this noble party so that Jinshi could be reunited with her and so that he can buy her out and she can return to his side is everything. He knew that Jinshi wasn't just going to get over this, and that love and admiration for his master to reunite them is everything, because he doesn't want Mama to encourage him because he's like, he doesn't need encouraging, but at the same time, he wants Jinshi to be happy. And if Mama makes Jinshi happy, he will do anything he can to make sure that they are back together. But I love this episode and the rundown of everything that's happened so far, and that reiteration of how similar the Pleasure District is to the palace, all the ways in which these women suffer. I won't go into too much detail because pretty much I have made that connection and talked about that connection in depth. So I will just be repeating myself if I reiterate it. But essentially, it's just driving home that idea of that no matter how pretty the cage is, it's still a cage. All these women are bound together by the mere fact that all of them are subjected to the whims of men. They are all oppressed by the society that they live in, and all of them are striving to find ways in which to establish themselves and to gain some freedom and independence to make their own choices in life, whether that is to marry someone that they love or whether to gain their freedom and retire in peace and not be subjected to political and court intrigue or the expectations of being a concubine. So all these women are connected through the mere fact that they are women within a strict patriarchal society. I love this show so much. I can't wait to see what happens in like the next half of the series, especially now that Mao Mao is most likely going to return to the Rio Palace because she has grown to enjoy her time there. She has become very closely connected to the people in the Rio Palace. She loves the freedom that she has to experiment with poisons and create medicine, and she has access to ingredients that she could only ever dream of. And now if she is going back as under Jinshi as his servant because he's the one that's brought her out of her term, then she will have more opportunity and more access. So we'll get to see maybe more of her apothecary skills, because she won't just be serving Gyokyu, she'll be serving Jinshi, which means she'd be serving all 4 concubines, because we know that Jinshi has close connections with all the concubines in terms of he is sort of in charge of their care and well-being and also resolves any conflict that is ongoing between them. So Mao Mao is also going to be involved in that. So if any of them are ill or whatever, then Mao Mao is going to be sent there to investigate and help and do what Mao Mao does best, find out what's going on and getting to the bottom of a mystery. But she is going to have a lot more freedom to move around. She is going to be able to interact more with the different concubines. And we also know a new concubine is going to be coming in because Aldua has left and she has gone elsewhere. So we know we're going to get a new concubine, most likely in the second half of series 1. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out and how it fits into the pre-established dynamic, because Liwa, Lishu, and Gyokyu have all sort of found a dynamic, and they had a dynamic with Aldua. There was the 4 of them, so they kind of know how to interact with each other. They haven't had a new person thrown in. So this is a completely new person that is having to adjust. So maybe that's sort of what we'll explore in series 1, is the tension that is going to erupt and potentially the conflict that's going to emerge as this new concubine tries to find her place within this dynamic and also tries to fit in and maybe establish and exert her own power and authority as a concubine, which may conflict with the pre-existing concubines, but that will add some political drama and tension. And yeah, I can't wait to see how that works and how she fits in with the 3 pre-established courtesans that have just lost Aldua, who they already knew and interacted with because she was the oldest of them all, and now they're having to accept someone else. And yeah, it's going to cause a bit of tension, I think, especially because Gyokyu is the current favorite. Lihua just lost her son, and then Lishu, she's not visited by the emperor at all. So her position's still very insecure. You know, it could end up that she gets replaced at some point because she isn't really of any value to the emperor because he doesn't touch her and doesn't go near her, and she's too young to bear children. At this point in time, she needs a couple more years, so she could end up being replaced and being forced into retirement, essentially. So we could end up with a second coming in, having to fit in with Gyokyu and Lihua, who are both pre-established, both have had children. But obviously Lihua lost her son, but she's still capable of having further children. It'd be interesting to see if she gets pregnant at all and if she has another baby. And then Gyokyu has a daughter and is seen as the favorite. Having to adjust to that if Lishu leaves is definitely interesting, but we shall see. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!